I mean, they probably want to get paid for it, but we don't even know how to pay them for it.
There's nobody to pay. You reach out to support, there's nobody there. It's all it is. All it is questions and answers.
You know?
There's no support there. You can't get a hold of anybody.
Alright.
So should be on YouTube.
Alright, so let's check this out so then I can share it on your wall.
YouTube for you.
Oh, you didn't do it? Okay.
No,
That's fine, that's fine.
do that now.
Okay. Let's see what happens. Oh, that's whose that is. Dolly's.
Do the first one. All right, it's coming, Geri. Hold on.
Okay. I didn't give you a book of mine, right?
Oh, you didn't.
No, no, like that. Be right back.
Geri, you're funny on Twitter too.
Okay, good. Woohoo! Where all the cool people are, the young people.
I hate Twitter.
I know. That's why I said the cool people.
Oh, it's celebrities on Twitter.
I know.
I owe you a book in return.
On YouTube.
We're on YouTube now?
Geri, it's going.
Yes. You'll get this one with this.
Okay,
Yeah, 'cause
great.
I gotta do my thing. Yes. You'll get this one with this.
Okay,
Yeah, 'cause I
great.
gotta do my thing. Do my thing. So now Thursday, we have plenty of seats here. Do you know who's going to be on my show Thursday?
No.
I shared it. I think I shared it to you, but you don't really have his one. You know the song?
now
Okay.
Thursday-
We have plenty of seats. Hold on, that's me.
You know who's gonna be on my
Hello.
show Thursday?
No.
I shared it. I think I shared it to you, but you don't really have his one.
Okay.
You know the song?
now
Thursday.
Okay. Why do I hear me, guys? Hold on, that's me. My stuff is off.
I shared it. I think I shared it to you, but you don't really have his one.
Okay.
You know the song?
Okay.
Thursday.
Why do I hear me, guys? Uh-oh.
Hold on, that's me.
Oh, my stuff is off. Oh boy. All right, so, all
The ones that are up.
right, we're gonna do it like this.
The ones that are up.
How's that? We're gonna do a mic check, guys.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right,
Is there a way
it's
of,
loud. Holy crap.
Lower it. You know how to lower it?
All right,
can I move these?
tighter?
Oh, look.
Yeah,
Look.
just a little bit.
How's that? No. Is that better?
No. Oh,
No, okay.
hello.
Oh, that's all right.
Say hi, Carol.
Hi.
Hi. My ears are just loud.
No, because now you got 4.
My ears are loud.
Is that better? Is that better?
How do you hear me, Carol? Hello?
I hear you all right.
Okay,
Is that better?
I'm better.
All right. How about Carol? I'm showing you.
Actually, it's a little, Jerry's voice is a little low for me.
Oh, low.
Yeah.
Okay, is this better? Oh,
Hi. How are you, Carol?
That's better.
Okay,
better? Okay.
so we're good.
What I did was I overall lowered it. It was way too high. So that's the master one. I know she likes it around there. So I just lowered her a little bit and then raised her.
So, you do those, they say level.
Right. That's it. See?
We're
Main
good,
level
baby,
was
we're
too high.
good.
Because Ralph is hard of hearing.
Oh, it says left and right? Oh,
Right.
so you control the ears.
Right. A lot of people are. So do the music.
Ralph
Get ready to
is
start.
very.
Hey, baby.
Start the music. And that's what we're going to do.
Now, this is going to be nothing to you because they're going to play the music, so these are off.
Which one do you?
Okay.
Do you,
USB.
oh, which one? Do you have it on? Is it this?
USB.
And then it's-
And you can start when I tell you to start.
But I gotta put this in.
Yep. Yeah, start.
Ladies and gentlemen, Geri Petito.
I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. And in time, this too shall pass. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Geri Petito taught the class. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Loves the answer, the greener grass. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. One day at a time, free at last.
When you don't know just what to do,
Just what to do, just what to do.
if what you're feeling is really true,
Is it really true? Is it really true?
just keep your ideas safe and sound.
Safe and sound, safe and sound.
That's exactly how change is found.
Change is found, change is found. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. And in time, this too shall pass. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Geri Petito taught the class. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Loves the answer, the greener grass. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. One day at a time, free at last.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Geri Petito Show on HamiltonRadio.net. So today is a bittersweet day for me. I'm the author of I'm Not an Addict, I'm Just an Ass. July 27th, 27 years ago, guys, I changed my life, all right? If you buy my book, go to Amazon, $10. All proceeds will be going to help other addicts. Today happens to be National Drug Overdose Awareness Day. So that's pretty sad because there's not a person out there that doesn't know someone who's affected by drugs. Not a person out there. I wish there was. So they're people, guys, okay? They shouldn't be judged. It happens to anyone and every one of us. It doesn't matter color. It doesn't matter where you live, how much money you have. It doesn't matter, okay? Drugs affect everyone. So before you judge that person, how about reaching out your hand and trying to help that person? So tonight, Mercer County, Gordon Road, they're at the park in Robbinsville. They're having an amazing concert show for today's Awareness Day. If anybody wants to go by, that would be beautiful to support it. I'm also doing some work with Robbinsville Township Police Department with a program called CARE. The reason why this is so important, and I have to mention it, is this, that if someone gets pulled over in Robbinsville Township on the road and they have drugs, they will not just be arrested, they will be offered help immediately. And if they say yes, they help them. I can vouch for that because I did a ride along. It happened. They were offered help and they got it immediately. All right, guys? So don't look down on the addict, okay? Reach out your hand and help the addict. I'm going to tell you something that you're probably going to maybe not believe, but this is the truth. Addiction is not a disease, and these addicts are not powerless. If it was a disease, okay, AA, NA, all that, would not tell the addict's family to let them hit rock bottom, not give them money, not give them food. Because if my child truly had a disease and was powerless, I wouldn't let them hit rock bottom. So that's contradictory. So I'm just letting you know that only 7% of the people really do stay well that get help. That means something's wrong. They're teaching something wrong. So if an addict is told he has a disease, that means forever. And if he's told he's powerless, that means forever. Then he has nothing to live for. That's what we're doing wrong. So if we could reach the addict and let them know they are not powerless, they do not have a disease, and we can help them, I guarantee you more people can get help. So having said that, I would like my amazing guest to introduce herself first and foremost.
All right, I wasn't expecting that. I publish as Carol Sturm Smith, and I am known in the area as Carol Beaumont because that is my current husband's last name, and I added it. And I have known Geri since the turn of the century.
Yep.
Because we're old poker buddies.
That's right.
And she was kind enough to offer me a microphone here today. So first I would like to say hello to my writing kiddies from the Freehold Regional High School District's Fine and Performing Arts Center, where I taught the writing for publication segment for 17 years. Because I know some of them are listening in because one of my favorite old kiddies, although she isn't really old, sent me an email earlier today. So, hi, Amy.
So, I have a poem that I wrote. Everyone that knows me knows I write my guest poems. I am incredibly honored to have this woman here today. Because to me, she was just an amazing poker player, friend. The one thing I remember about you, Carol, is this. Even when you weren't well and you couldn't walk very well, you came to every event that I asked you if we needed someone to fill in. You never said no to me, and you got there, and thank you for that.
No, you are welcome. You are impossible to say no
See,
to.
Marty Olick, the original Night Owl, okay? We were talking about you the other day because he saw the post, and he said to say hello to you, and he's hoping to call in. Unless he's working, he's going to give it a shot. But he wanted you to know that he will never forget that either about you. All right? So I'm going to read this amazing lady's poem because I didn't know any of this stuff about her, okay? All right. Carol. My guest tonight is Carol, a woman of many things. I didn't know much about her. I just found out she sings. I'm not even sure what this show's about. Carol's in charge. She's the boss, no doubt. I met Carol playing poker. She played in my league I had. Ms. Night Owl Poker, I named it. 10 years later, it's over. So sad. Carol's card protector's really cool. Appropriate, as she would say. A green leaf saying pot committed. Committed to smoking every day? Believes kids should be taught to play poker at a young age. Manners and math will be learned. The hand jack 4 should be their gauge. Carol, I could always count on for big tourneys that we used to do. If the teams ever needed a player, Carol came to their rescue. She was born and raised in Trenton and educated there as well. A super proud Trentonian with so much news to tell. Carol has a daughter who's 50. I'm no scientist, you do the math. Carol, you don't seem old enough. Do you soak hemp leaves in your bath? You love to cook, and so do I. Do you make brownies or pot pie? You had a career in the publishing industry. You co-authored books as well. With Lillian Langsick Christensen, cookbooks are cool as hell. Loves choral music and sings in a choir. I had to look up that word. Honestly, Carol, I swear, blah, blah, blah is all I heard. Choral means choir, guys, in case you didn't know. She even loves opera, and her librettos are in tow. An eternal optimist and believes in peace. All good karma she does release. The fun part about our friendship, we're different and don't care. I say, "How you doing?" She says, "How are you, dear?" Carol puts up with my yelling and never threw a fit. Always so respectful, even though I can't spell for shit. I don't curse on my show. Everyone knows that, but for this lady, I had to say that because that's what she told me.
All right, thank
That's
you,
for
my
you.
love. That is wonderful.
Okay, and this book is for you.
Oh, thank you so much. That was just delightful. And you've had fun doing that.
I had a
didn't
lot
you?
of fun doing that.
Yes,
So,
really.
Listen, the floor is yours, Carol. Let's start about anything you want. Talk to me about being in the choir.
Wesley, my second husband, and I actually met in choir at Trenton Central High School in 1954.
Okay.
So you can do the math there.
Okay.
I'm going to be 80 in
That's
October.
crazy.
And we both went our separate ways. He continued to sing much more than I did. I went over and became a guitar player for quite a while.
I didn't know that either.
You didn't know that either. I don't talk about things I don't talk about very much.
Oh my goodness.
So we met in choir, and I was living in New York and working on the first of a series of romance books that I was doing that featured the story of a woman getting back in touch with her forbidden high school boyfriend, and lo and behold, Wes
Wow.
calls and comes back into my life, and so I am now once again singing with people who I sang with in high school. There are a half a dozen folks who sing in the Lawrenceville Presbyterian Church Choir or with the concert singers, and so it's just wonderful. I don't think it's true that you can't come home again. It's just that when you do, you have to stay for a long time.
That's a beautiful story, and I love that. And you can come home again, right? You
Yes.
can come home again.
You can. It just takes a little while. That's all.
You know, guys, listen to what she's saying here. 80 years old, okay? She said it. So everyone out there who thinks, because they're getting older, I hear this all the time, that they're getting too old, that they can't do something. That's BS, right? I wrote a book in my 50s, right? Look at what Carol's doing at 80. That's BS, guys. KYW is my saying, know your worth. This lady knows her worth. Look at this amazing woman here.
Well, I look very well, and I'm trying to take care of myself, and actually I'm doing very well. I've finally started taking some work out of the drawer that has been sitting there for way too long, and hope that by the end of the year that I will start resuming my writing career. I have a lot of things to finish.
So I can help you. I have a friend who now does publishing. I mean, so we have a lot of connections. That's amazing. Imagine Carol publishing a book at 80 years old. That's
Well,
unbelievable, right, Gina?
Why not?
That's beautiful.
Amen.
That's beautiful, right?
I have the third book of a trilogy to finish. The first two have been published, and lots of other stuff too. And I am, in fact, also working on a libretto, which is what I have always wanted to do.
That's amazing. So your cookbooks. Tell
Yeah.
me, because I'm a vegan chef. Tell me about your cookbooks. What kind of recipes?
Lillian Langseth Christensen was one of the most interesting people I have ever met. She attended art school in Paris in the 1920s and had cabinet after cabinet of sketches by people literally such as Picasso.
Oh, wow.
Because she was there, and she was studying architectural interiors and went on to design the lobbies of some of the biggest buildings in New York, but she was also a contributing editor to Gourmet magazine for about 4 decades. And I was her editor for, I can never remember, it was the No Cooking. She and Peg Bracken in the same year both published cookbooks. One was called the No Cooking Cookbook, and the other was something very similar. Anyway, I worked on Liesel's book, which had a lot of errors in it.
Okay.
And we worked on that for a long time, and out of the blue one day she called and said, there's a project I've always wanted to do. I want to do this complete kitchen guide, and I want to do these little cookbooks. Would you like to co-author with me? And of course I said yes, because yes gets you what you want, and
That's
no
right.
never does.
There you go.
Really. So we worked together for a long time. She and her husband lived in a wonderful house in Connecticut, and would go up there, and we'd spend weekends working on testing out the recipes, and she set a splendid table. I know that it's the name of somebody else's radio show, but she had china from the Russian Tsar's palace.
wow.
And she was a fabulous cook, and we worked together beautifully and had a long, wonderful working relationship. And the little cookbooks were really fun. They were all devoted. There's one book all devoted to coffee and chocolate, and which I remember particularly because I included my mother's chocolate cake, which she had always made for me, and because it has the one error in the entire series in that book, because I forgot to include the instruction to line the pan, so anybody making that would never get the cake out of the tin.
Listen, I think they know to line it.
Right.
You know, that's funny.
But she was great, and I loved her, and the cooking was a lot of fun, except for poached eggs. We spent an entire Saturday afternoon with her attempting to teach me to poach eggs, and I couldn't do it, and I still can't.
So let's talk about medicinal marijuana.
Medicinal marijuana has given me my life back.
Okay.
Like you, I also got caught up in addiction.
Wait, I didn't know that.
I was addicted to pain pills.
Okay.
For a little more, about a decade and a half. I had 5 serious surgeries within 5 years, and ended up spending the next 15 years unable to do anything if I didn't have my pain medication, and if I had my pain medication, I couldn't do anything anyway.
So wait, was that before I met you?
No, that was after.
Dr. G, can we hear her okay? Okay, go ahead.
No, so friends of mine, I did not know this until recently, but friends of mine conspired to get me the information to become a medical marijuana user, and it took quite a while, and it was very expensive, but it's given me my life back. I will not say that I never take pain pills anymore, because I do occasionally take tramadol if I'm having a long trip and I know that I have to be in the car or on a plane or something.
Okay.
But that is it.
Okay.
That is it. And it isn't a question of getting high. It's a question of keeping the pain under control, because I have a lot of ailments, as everyone my age does. And I feel strongly that young people should be very cautious.
Yes.
But I would rather see a 17-year-old using cannabis than drinking alcohol.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Listen, we say it all the time. Alcohol should be banned and illegal. Marijuana should not.
Well, it is the original all-purpose pain medication. There is very good evidence there is very good evidence that marijuana was the cause of early Christian rituals that helped people
Absolutely.
with ailments that could not be cured in any other way. And this is something of choice here. I'm never going to say it to anybody, you should do this, but that's what it boils down to for me. And my involvement with quote drugs unquote is very long and goes back a long way. I was for a long time the go-to editor in New York for drug-related books. I was involved in the very first book called Me, Myself, and I by Constance Newland, which I think was a pseudonym, which was the first discussion of the use of LSD as a medical tool. I then went on, I was the editor for David Solomon's LSD, the consciousness expanding drug, which is how I met my first husband, who was his best friend, and who was the subject of the first popular article about LSD in Esquire magazine by a gentleman named David Solomon. And he did a piece about a composer and a painter, and Stan was the painter on that show. I also worked with Richard Alpert and two other gentlemen on a book that was just called LSD, which was a photo book that was really that was quite interesting. And I was Timothy Leary's original editor on High Priest. He took the project to NAL because I was the editor there, and I spent a good amount of time up at Millbrook going through his files. So my interest, and I also edited a book called Mushrooms of the World because I got completely drawn in to all of the scientific stuff that was going on. Never did try any hard drugs.
Okay.
It's not my thing at all, but I will say that I am one of the few people who I still know who when I took LSD for the first time, it was legal.
So I have a question about that, because they say that LSD stays in your body and you could have a hallucination 7 years later. Is that true? Has it ever happened to you?
I don't need an excuse to hallucinate. I can look at a spot on the corner and the top of the wall and turn it into a spider or an angel, depending upon my mood. And
I'm kind of like that as well.
Yes, I know.
And I know, right? That's crazy.
Yeah.
So you did LSD, girl.
I did.
That's crazy to me.
Haven't for a very, very, very long time, and I'm not sure that I ever will again.
How old were you when you did it?
About. Let's see. It must have been in my late 20s.
Okay. I'm staring at her because I don't know any of the side of Carol, okay? Carol, I am impressed. I'm shocked.
Well, you should be.
I'm very impressed. I'm very shocked.
Oh, you shouldn't be shocked.
I know, but I am shocked. So,
I make no. I'm surprised you didn't know this, because I make no bones about about this. I really, I think what happened to several generations of young people where pot busts are concerned is so outrageous.
Okay.
It's anyway, so let's see here.
We have plenty of time.
Oh, we do.
Plenty of time.
We have plenty of time. I thought you were going to ask me
Well, I
questions.
will ask you some questions, but
All
you're
right.
doing so well. You
Okay.
just spoke for over 20 minutes. I think you
I
did
did?
really well.
Oh, all right.
All right. So, okay. So I want to ask you about you mentioned a cookbook. I'm asking you for
Yes.
me. You mentioned a cookbook called the No Cook Cookbook.
Right.
Tell me a little bit about that, and then I'll tell you why I'm asking.
Okay. They were recipes for salads and other meals that you didn't really have to cook.
So all raws.
All raws.
The reason I'm asking you is this. I do a lot of raws in my diet. I'm vegan.
I
And
know you are.
Okay.
And I have told people that one of the things I really like about you is that you don't discriminate against carnivores.
No, not at all.
Right.
Okay, so I'll tell you about what she just said, and then I'll go on to what I was going to be talking about with the cookbook. So I'm a vegan for health reasons. I had 2 very serious sicknesses back in the day. Colon cancer, the beginning stages, my breasts, and I went out of the country. I went all over the country as well, and I got certified in different things like fasting, and that's when I changed my lifestyle because my body could not process dairy or meat. So that's what happened with me. So and I'm a vegan chef, and I also still will cook meat for people. I have to, it would be organic meat I would buy and cook though. When I lived in Robbinsville, I was on like 50 acres all around me, and people would knock on my door and ask if they could hunt on my land. I said, absolutely. If you're going to eat what you hunt, it's the healthiest meat. Go for it.
Absolutely.
So absolutely.
We had hunters, bow hunters, go after deer when we were living in Hopewell, and always
right.
took some of the venison.
So?
I make a really wicked venison chili.
Oh, I thought you were going to say stew.
No,
Okay.
my venison stew is okay, but the venison chili is really good.
So, but the reason I was asking about the No Cook Cookbook is because Bobby Buns, Robert Parker, all right, how much weight did he lose, Gino?
He was over 300 some pounds.
Yeah, he's lost at least, oh my goodness, at least 150 pounds, at least. More than that. Okay? And he had a show on Hamilton Radio. He's a comedian, but now he's been on my show a few times, and Raw Food City is his blog on Facebook. So everything that he teaches is to go all raw. So I thought that would be cool for me to get that book for him, and he would love that, because even back then people did raws and we just didn't talk about all of it.
I'm not sure I have a copy, but I will look, and
Okay.
if so, I will pass it along.
Because that would be so cool.
Right.
So let's talk about your singing. All right?
Oh, well, the singing
Yes.
is wonderful. The friendships that I have made over time in music are the friendships that have meant almost as much as my poker friendships.
There you go. She
right.
knew she had to say that, guys.
I did. But it isn't only that. I also, for a while, was very involved with a local opera company. And I went back to school, and I did I learned enough so that I can actually follow opera score. And so I went and I spent a number of years there working with them, working with props, and then moving up to assistant stage manager at the War Memorial. That was really a lot of fun. I
Do you
love
sing
working.
opera?
I do not sing opera.
Okay.
I am a tolerated second alto in the choir. I'm very good about knowing when to stop singing so that I don't bring a wrong note into the mix.
So you wouldn't sing like a couple notes for us?
No, Wes is the one, my husband is the one who sings. He was the bass soloist for the for what?
Mercer County what?
Chorus. Oh, yeah, right.
Would you sing for us?
Not today.
No? Okay. Under the weather? Okay. So being part of that, okay, being part of all that with the singing and with the people and all that. So tell me a little bit about that, your relationships with all those people.
Musicians, by definition, are people who have got to listen to other people.
Okay.
Because if you do not listen to the other people with whom you are singing, you cannot have a blend.
Okay.
So good singers are good listeners, and some people are gifted with the talent to produce a really beautiful sound, and there are other people like me who love music and who can participate in a choral setting that not anywhere else. I hate being on stage. It is not my
Okay.
thing at all. I am definitely a behind the
Scenes?
the curtain, behind the scenes person. That's what I like. That's what I like to do.
The reason I'm asking you about their personalities is because on Hamilton Radio we have a lot of entertainers and a lot of singers, right, Doc G?
Yep.
And a lot of them are very shy.
Yes. Lots of performers are
Yes.
very shy.
And that just blows me away.
There are mountains of stories of performers on Broadway who, before they go on the stage, upchuck into a wastebasket.
That is so great. Do you know that Elvis Presley had stage fright?
I know.
Isn't that crazy? The greatest performer ever, guys, had stage fright. That's crazy.
I don't think it's crazy. I really understand it. There are some people who don't like to be singled out, particularly people who expect when they are singled out to have something not good happen.
Okay, you just made sense of something by saying that. Doc G, do you know what I'm going to say?
Go ahead.
Okay. Whenever we have singers, I say to them, sing. And now wait, here's the thing. They know they're coming on and they know they're going to sing. And whenever I say, oh, can you sing something now? What do they say, Doc G?
I'm not ready yet.
Yeah, we don't
Yep.
have anything ready.
Not prepared.
Yeah, not prepared. And they look at me
They always should be prepared.
like I'm crazy. And they're like, now? Right now? And people who don't sing just think you should just be able to sing.
Yes, but that isn't true.
Okay.
If you are doing a performance quality situation, you have had to have warmed up beforehand and know what you're doing. It is very difficult to just perform on the spot. It just, this is not a problem that my husband has, because he likes being on the stage.
Okay.
So, but I really don't. It's just not a very good venue for me.
So I do want to ask you something personal, and I mean,
Please do.
Okay, how did you grow up? How were your parents? Your family
Oh.
life? Because this is important. Because I'm looking at you and I'm like, this lady's amazing, and you're 80 years old. So back then things were so different than they are today.
They are.
So how did you grow up? How was your family life?
My family life was truly messed up.
Okay.
But of course, I thought it was normal. My father had rheumatic fever as a child, and in his mid-30s it became debilitating to the point where he was in bed needing oxygen all of the time, and he died when he was 39.
Oh my gosh.
When I was, I think, about 7 or 8 years old.
Okay.
But we lived in the house, my mother and my father and my mother's younger brother and his wife lived with us.
Okay.
And they had 2 children, a boy named Bob, cousin Robert, who lives down in Florida, and a daughter, Martha. And I really didn't understand the difference between cousin and brother and sister. It made no sense to me. That was number one. Number two, I was then the only kid in class who didn't have 2 parents. The kids were very, I'm unintentionally cruel.
Yes.
And it really put me into a very difficult situation of always, and I suspect hindsight says to me that I must have in some ways believed that I was the cause of my father's dying.
Wow.
There is no basis for that at all, but the situation was very difficult, and my mother turned the handling of the news of my father's death over to my aunt instead of herself. So I ended up with some very, very screwed up schematic understanding of what family is all about. And it didn't occur to us, and my mother passed away when she was just 50, so I was an orphaned only child before I was 30, which also reminds me of the fact that the one thing that we haven't talked about is that tomorrow is my daughter's 50th birthday.
Let's talk about that.
And she and I are in a very difficult place at the current time. We are exchanging polite and short emails and texts, and part of it is that I am not always the easiest person to be around. When my energy is up, it is really up.
Okay.
I am capable of being very loud and obnoxious, and I am almost incapable of lying. And that is an even worse problem, because sometimes telling the truth to kids is not a good thing to do.
I'm just like you.
Of course you are.
Yes.
That's why we're such good friends.
That's right.
You know, it's really, I knew that right from the beginning.
So your daughter, do you see her much?
My daughter and her 3 sons and her husband of 21 years live in Sioux City, Iowa.
Oh, okay.
So no, I do not get to see them very much. I have been out there a number of times. This summer turned out to be impossible for both of us. And that's not the best situation. My 2 oldest grandsons, Joshua, David, and Benjamin Palmer, Rosenholtz is their last name, are currently in Japan. Josh with his significant other, Allie, who is just wonderful, and Ben has a friend with him also who I have not met, and they're tooting around. So Ben has picked up my music talent. He is a superb guitar player, and that makes me very, very happy. I was able to pass on to him 2 guitars that I had made for me. That was great. And Josh has his grandfather's painting abilities and drawing abilities, and also is interested in literature as I am.
That's awesome.
Yes, that
Yes.
is really awesome.
That's awesome. The whole creative thing.
Yes, the whole
Yes.
creative thing.
Love it.
It's wonderful, and they get it on both sides. There's heavy duty genes on Mark's side as well.
When is your birthday?
October 28th.
Oh, okay. What sign are you?
Scorpio.
Okay, Scorpio. Because I'm a Pisces, so I was thinking maybe we were both Pisces.
No. Is
Okay.
that a water sign also?
Yes.
That's it.
I'm the 2 fish swimming in opposite directions, the good fish and the bad fish. Want to hear the story I told my pastor?
Of course.
Okay. My pastor's amazing. We're good friends. And I said, Pastor Mark, you know I'm a Pisces. He said, oh boy, here we go. I said, the good fish and the bad fish swimming in opposite directions. I said, the good fish absolutely wants to walk with Jesus one day, and that bad fish absolutely wanted to sleep with Elvis. He said, only you. He said, only you, Joe, would tell your pastor that. I said, but God already knows it.
That's wonderful. And
Okay.
what church is that?
Well, he moved away, but we were with Pennington Assembly, First Assembly of God.
Oh, okay.
Yes, but my favorite church of all time is Calvary Chapel on Philmont Avenue. Pastor Joe Foch. I went to Israel with my dad, with this man, with his church, about 20 years ago. And my dad accepted Jesus in the tomb where Jesus was buried. My dad accepted him there, and that was just beautiful for me. But Pastor Joe Foch will tell the story. He was an ex-drug addict. The guy's the coolest thing. I think he's probably in his late 60s by now. And he wears jeans every Sunday. And he wears this Hawaiian flowered button-down collared shirt every Sunday and just sits up there on a pew. on a stool and talks. And the guy makes so much sense. And he's very, very shy off the pulpit. So it was cool.
I greatly respect the new pastor at the Lawrenceville Presbyterian church, and
Wait, where is that at?
it's on Lawrenceville Presbyterian in Lawrenceville.
But what street is that on? Do you know?
Main drag, 206.
What's the side street though? Because I think I was just there about 2 months ago. Are you there every Sunday?
No,
Oh.
we only sing with the concert singers now. We join them for it's too far now. We
Okay.
used to be just a little ways away, but we now are living 45 minutes away.
Okay.
So it's an hour and a half drive
Okay.
for an hour rehearsal.
It's right in front of the Lawrenceville School.
Okay, I'm not sure if that was the one. A friend of mine picked me up because I had a knee injury as well, and she picked me up and brought me one Sunday, and it was in Lawrenceville. I'm not sure. All right. So anyway, your cousins that you lived with, do you still have a relationship with them?
My cousin Bob down in Florida, over the last year or so, we have been talking a lot, and I'm definitely going to get down there to see them this year. But I don't know what's happened with. I've been out of touch with my other cousin for many years.
Okay.
So one of the things that I realize that has driven me a lot is this need for a sense of family. I don't think any child in the world, unless they are really being seriously physically abused, thinks that their home life situation is dreadful. I certainly didn't. I remember my childhood, at least until my father died, as being relatively happy. and even afterwards, and I have cut a lot of that stuff out of my memory bank, because it doesn't make any sense to carry along or carry around painful baggage.
That's right.
Have to get it out. You get it out, you drop it out. I put some of it into my work. I put some of it into the writing. I put some of it into poetry. And I also have a little book of short stories that I've been working on for years, called Old Lady Chin Dribble.
That's going to be awesome.
That is going to
That's
be
gonna be
awesome. And they're all just little short 500-word short stories, and if I can ever get through my filing and figure out where they all are, I should be able to pull those together and get that, because she is just the most wonderful. She is the most wonderful ditzy character. I mean, she's just like I am. She's an old lady chin dribble, you know.
I want to talk about poker, of course.
Oh, please.
All right, so I think we've touched base pretty much on a lot that's in here, and if you want to touch base on something else, let me know. But poker, let's talk about it.
I think poker, I trust poker friends as much as anybody in the world.
Why?
Because it is impossible to not show your true self at the poker table.
I just love Carol.
But it's true. If you are a person who cheats, you are going to attempt to cheat.
Absolutely.
And if you are a person who is honest, by the end of the third or fourth time you have played with that person, you will know whether or not that person is honest. And not only that, but it also teaches you about the way they interact with other people. And the camaraderie is wonderful. The insane variations. Nothing happens twice. It doesn't matter what you get dealt. Everything else in the hand is going to be different, and I honestly believe that one of the projects that I won't get into it, but really, children should be taught card games as a way of teaching math. It is so much fun, and it is so more realistic, and it gives you all of the simply figuring out what different piles of chips mean when they are in different colors, can give you more of an understanding of the variances in calculating figures.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, I just love what you just said about people at a poker table.
It's the best, and I can't remember when I first started playing poker, but I never remember a time in the household when I was growing up. One of the things that I most appreciate is every Saturday afternoon, my mother and I listened to the opera from Metropolitan Opera, and 2 times a week, one time the women played either mahjong or a card game that I can't remember, canasta.
Oh, canasta.
And the guys played poker and pinochle.
Yep.
And so there were 2 nights a week in the house, there were card games, but one that my mother and my aunt played in, and one that my uncle and his friends played in, and they always let me stand behind the counter and watch.
I grew up in an Italian family. Every Sunday, every two nights a week as well, we all got together, and there was poker. The women played at one table, the men played at another, and we were allowed to sit there next to them. It was great. I grew up with that, so now we are all poker players,
Yes.
you know?
And it's also one of the games where that transcends language.
That's right.
Yeah. I know you've been to Australia a few times.
I was supposed to go the end of this month, but with this injury, I'm afraid to get on the plane with the pressure. So, I've been there, many times, and my friends have come over here. And did you get to meet my friends both times when they came? It was actually 3 different times. 3 different families came, and they came to the poker games.
I did not.
Okay.
I did not.
So, you know, everybody out there, you know, people judge. Let me ask you this about poker. People judge poker players and think we're gamblers. See, I don't see it that way.
I don't either.
Okay, let's talk about that.
On the other hand, I think that there are young people out there who have had the opportunity to make a living playing poker and going around the world.
That's right.
And having the experience and the times of their lives. And I think that is absolutely wonderful. And there are now some very serious women poker players, and I think that is wonderful. Wonderful also.
The reason why poker players are not gamblers, I'm not talking about craps, I'm not talking about roulette wheels, I'm not talking about slots. To me, that's gambling. You're just putting your money in and pulling something down. Poker players have to sit at that table and use their brains. We have to think about our next move. Sometimes the 2 cards in our hands don't matter. We could have 2-7 off, but if we're playing the table right and we're in position and we play the players, we could outraise players where they'll fold and we'll win the pot. And we had 2-7 off and show our bluff laughing. So we had to use our brain. So I tell everybody at a young age to learn the game as well, because it teaches them a little bit of common sense. It teaches them, right, Carol? All great stuff. Not just about gambling. It's not about that.
No, it isn't. It really is about reading people and having the courage to occasionally bluff.
That's right.
Which you have got to do, and it teaches you about managing your assets, because you need to do that, and it requires a very interesting level of concentration.
Yep.
Because whatever, but I think it's wonderful, and I don't understand why teachers don't use cards to teach
it's amazing.
kids.
Yeah, I agree. What's your favorite poker hand? You know mine. Mine is Jack 4, obviously. What's
yours? Is Jack 4?
Yeah.
I like Jack 9.
Oh, okay.
I do, particularly of clubs for some odd reason.
Okay.
And I have on many occasions in odd times played Jack 4 in your
Of course.
behalf, and sometimes I win and sometimes I don't.
I have people all over the world playing that crazy hand, okay? So I'll get texts and messages. Jared, I'm a believer. They just want a huge pot. But then I'll get, F your hand, Jared, it sucks.
Oh my God.
And they lose with it.
I thought you weren't going to curse.
No, I said the letter.
Oh,
the letter
all right.
F. The letter
Okay.
F. All right? It says,
All right.
You know, so funny. Well, guys, we're coming to the close of the show. We have close to 10 minutes left, but I like to say things right about now anyway. I'd like to thank my listeners, first and foremost, out there for listening in. We totally appreciate you, because without listeners, we wouldn't have a show. I want to thank my amazing guest sitting here.
Oh, thank you, Jerry.
Carol, I'm blown away by you. So I've
Well, you
always,
should be.
I am, and
I am a woman of
I
great
agree.
accomplishment.
There you go. And this is one of the reasons I'm blown away by this woman, because she knows her worth. Do you hear what she just said? There's no reason in the world for any of you to not look in the mirror and say to yourself what she just said about yourself. How come we can always give compliments to others, right? But then we feel like we can't compliment ourselves? If you know your worth, sweetheart, you can. So that's important. What an amazing, amazing life you made for yourself in spite of, Carol.
I don't know how to quit. And
that's
I
beautiful.
am aiming to be 108 and a half because I have a role model. The mother of a childhood friend who grew up on Laclede Avenue in Trenton, where I lived when I was growing up, Ruth Watkins. And I'm still in touch with her son, Peter Watkins, who's out in California now, I believe, although he may be in Florida. And she lived to be 108 and a half,
That's
living
unbelievable.
alone, completely sentient. I don't see any reason why. I mean, the one thing that you didn't do that I thought you would do would, when Wes and I moved into Rossmore 7 years ago, I really had a choice because I moved in with a broken shoulder and everything was a mess, and I was 199 pounds.
Okay.
And I am now, 7 years later, I am now 140 pounds.
Okay.
And I am never going back, and I have changed the way that I eat. Although I still do like my red meat, my
Okay,
dear.
that's fine.
And I am stretching and doing exercises and taking care of myself, and I figure if I put myself in the hands of the best people that I can to take care of me and to play with and to love, that they will do their part, and then that's it. And finally I get to sit back and do what I want to do, which is finish off all of these projects that are in the drawer, and I don't see why I can't.
Well, I want to share something with you, Carol. A friend of mine, Melanie Jones, she was on my show, I think it was a week ago or so, but she's been on a couple times, and I'll have to hook you up with her on Facebook. You don't have to be teeny to be a yogini.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
There you go. So she has an amazing thing, and she'll meet you where you're at. If you need to do yoga in a chair, you do yoga in a chair. She's unbelievable. All right. So, having said that, is there anything else you would like to share? We have about 5 more minutes, and then we'll close with whatever it is you would like to share with the audience.
Yes, I would. I wish that someone had told me when I was a kid that one of the things that happens when you get older is that the older you get, the more friends you lose along the way. And you are never prepared for it. And there is always a battle. Some part always says, oh, my loss for that person, and some part says, wow, I outlived them. It is a very interesting, strange scale that we all live with. I never thought that I was going to live to be past 50, because that is when my mother died. And so here I am now, 30 years, almost 30 years into overdrive and overtime, and I want as much of another 30 as I can have, because I enjoy it, and I am not going to let the pain win. Then that is it. It's time to have fun, dance, sing,
Beautiful.
eat good food, be a kind person, hope for peace, and stick your hand out and give a helping hand to other people, and we'll all be better.
If you could touch one life, one, guys, just one. If you could, reach down and give your hand to one person, right? That person, if you can help that person, I guarantee you that that person will reach down and help another person. And that's how it works.
You are absolutely correct.
That's how it works. I'm going to say something now that's very sad, Carol. I'm not sure if you even know, but a poker buddy of ours, one of the original Night Owl players, Shane, he passed away this week.
Who did?
His name is Shane. I'll show you his photo. You'll remember him.
I will.
Chris Jacobelli's good friend, Marquis Minor's good friend.
No, I did not know that.
Yep, alcohol got the best of him, and he was a wonderful, wonderful kid. Well, he was in his 30s, I think. And
That's too young.
yes, and I want to say to the family, we're very sorry, and I want to say to you, Shane, rest in peace. We all love you. And with that, we're good, Gino.